Hey,
Hey, what's up, brother?
how you doing, man?
Good. How about you?
Good. Happy Wednesday.
Thanks. Same to you.
Um, did you like my new start screen?
I did like it. It's high res now. It's, you know, got me in the mood to drink some tea and talk.
That's because I have put up two additional monitors and I have like a straight Minority Report like control center now, and I won't be like, "Hold on, I'm opening this window. I'm opening that window." Anyway, hi everybody.
Yeah. Hello, hello. Welcome to Tea Time at the Apothecary. I'm TQ with my brother JQ. We get together, what, Jay? Twice a week, I think we're going to start doing. Usually Wednesdays and Fridays, but sometimes we might throw a Monday in there. And we talk about tea, life, health, wellness, apothecary goodness, you name it. And yeah, and we interview cool people. Although today we're just going to talk about a topic. We're going to talk about getting better sleep.
Schlaf gut.
Yeah, and it's something that I need right now. I feel like every year in September, it's something about literally becoming September 1st that it's like a brick wall. I'm like, God, why am I so tired and I need more sleep? I don't know if it's the light or whatever. I'm sure it's kids, the stress of school during a pandemic, whatever. Being a parent is hard too. I'll throw that in there in case people didn't realize that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes, it is.
yeah.
But that's okay, you know. It's
Yeah,
also the beginning of a new year in a lot of ways.
it is.
It's a new school year.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So for parents, that's how we mark the beginning of the year in a lot of ways, you know?
yeah, no, that's true. Like if you're in families, this is the year starting and the year ends in May or June, and then
Yeah.
summer is like this magical middle time.
So there's really this moment of reflection that's sort of magnified by the beginning of a new year and the sort of the like kind of melancholy associated with knowing summer is on its way out. Um, that is like
Why you gotta go there and bring me down and
because I actually live in that place.
I know,
I
I
love,
know.
and that's like what my music sounds like. That's what Chicago music sounds like. If you listen to Common, the rapper, or if you listen to Smashing Pumpkins, this is fall music. We make fall
Yeah,
music in Chicago, you know?
yeah. Did you switch it to gallery view, Jay? Or
Yeah.
is it still in speaker view? Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
Um, yeah, no, I know what you mean. I'm a fan of the melancholy. Sometimes it gets infinitely sad though, and that is kind of a problem.
Melancholy and the infinite sadness.
Yeah, yeah. No, but seriously, you know what I found? I used to sort of revel in that like fall melancholy, because melancholy is like part sadness and part pleasure in that beauty, right? That's kind of how I think of it. Um, I mostly find fall now to be like, I remember when it used to feel that way, but really it feels like somebody pushed my foot down on an accelerator and I didn't even realize it was being done and I don't know how to take it off. So I find it to be more fast and furious than melancholy and infinite sadness for me.
Well, let's take a moment and
Yeah.
drink some tea.
Yeah, let's do that.
What are you drinking?
I am drinking an amazing, well, I haven't tasted it yet, but oh yeah, it's amazing. Lisa whipped up a sleep blend without valerian here in the apothecary that she's working on, and I am getting to be the first to talk about it and test it. So, uh,
What's in it? Because I made my own sleep blend.
hold on one second. I need to look it up because I don't have a canister in front of me. But it is, let's see. It's in our channel. Um, all right. It's chamomile, catnip, lavender, hops, mugwort, and peppermint.
Well, slow down. Chamomile, I got it.
Yeah. Catnip,
Got it.
That's why I'm kind of like jumping around and clawing things right now. Lavender,
Got it.
hops,
Got it.
mugwort.
No.
That's why mine's better.
And what? And what else?
And peppermint.
No, I didn't use that either. I used holy basil and lemon balm.
Cool. You went
But
like
the same first four.
great minds think alike, huh?
Ooh, mine is very hot. Oh man. You know, I
Yeah,
don't drink lavender enough.
I know what you mean. Every time I drink lavender, I feel the benefits. I taste the benefits. Do you know what I mean?
Ah, it's such like you forget like it gets this reputation because like it's used in so many soaps and candles that sort of sweet English lavender and that French lavender that like there's so many types but that I'm saying type this may not
Yeah,
be
yeah.
French but
The
that
Bulgarian lavender is really good too.
and alpine lavender that's in Spike products is
Yeah,
amazing but it's so like sage like it's actually way more earthy and has like a lot of floral funk that I love.
yeah, me too. There is a funkiness to it. Uh, Lavender can get really, really funky when you rub the leaves. Sometimes you're like, wow, that's straight up.
We have one I won't name the brand but we have one hydrosol that's made one like facial toner that is made out of lavender that I will not touch. It's just poop. It's straight up poop.
Doo doo. Yeah,
I mean, it
you know,
feels amazing on my head, but I'm like, I can't do it. I can't just smell that.
yeah, yeah, I know what you mean. Um, I agree with you. Lavender is sort of like it's something that we should use more often, and I should use more often outside of just smelling it, um, because it's got so many benefits. It actually does
Yeah.
make me feel good.
Yeah.
Even
It
talk
makes
about this.
me
I
feel
had
good
like a
because
few things happen this morning that were throwing me off.
mm,
So although sleep is not, I don't want to go to sleep right now. I feel like that relaxation that comes along with sleep blends often is something that I'm already feeling the chamomile and lavender, catnip, and all that stuff kick in and just kind of like ah,
yeah.
you know. And it's such a better way. I don't mean to be, I'm not being preachy about this, but for much of my life, I would say there is this feeling, the feeling of letting life and all the things that I normally care about wash over me instead of instead of digging into them, just letting them go by is I feel like how I used alcohol. And I didn't use it as a stress relief. I did mostly use it as enjoyment, but part of the enjoyment was the feeling of letting everything just sort of like
Yeah, you can turn it off.
yeah, turn it off and just let the current flow past me. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah,
know I
there's
haven't
something
been,
about that switch, you know?
yeah,
It helps you flip the switch.
yeah, totally. But I would say, it's and now what 8 months into not having a drink, and I'm starting to discover, and I'm not saying that people should do that, whatever, it's your own choice. But for me, what happened was I found that the benefit of getting that feeling was going away, and the negative effects of feeling worse afterwards and having sort of anxiety about all the things that I just let go was getting greater.
Hmm.
And so I feel like that for me has been the thing that the anxiety and the sort of like that stuff went away quickly in the first few months of giving up drinking. But the finding other ways to have that feeling of letting go has only been coming in the past month or two. Does that make sense? Where I'm actually now finding ways, it's not like the anxiety's gone, but now it's like, how do I tap into that great feeling of just being like, I'm going to let life flow over me without having alcohol be the trigger for that?
Yeah, so part of that, like I was seeing a therapist when the pandemic first hit,
Yeah.
and I mentioned this to him. I'm like, why when I'm done working, I can't just turn it off and enjoy my family? Like I
Yeah,
bring my stress into dinner and like all I
100%.
want to do really is just have fun with them and laugh. And if they're being silly and over the top, like I want to join, you know? And I couldn't. I was just mad.
Welcome to the last 20 years of my life, my friend.
Oh, but for me, this was new, you know? And so,
it's called having a job. Having a job is new too. I'm teasing you, but having a more structured kind of work.
yeah, I'm still pretty unstructured at this point. I'm a mess, but let's be honest, I'm just kind of a mess. Um, but why was I taking it upstairs into my sacred family time that I get, you know?
Yeah,
It's not that I have to, it's that I get to.
yeah.
And and how and so I was like, I was identifying that I used to use a glass of wine or a first drink to flip the switch and turn off everything from the day and just find my kids hilarious as opposed to annoying. And he was like, my therapist was like, well, you're doing all this meditation. Stop and take 5 minutes right before you go upstairs. Like set a timer, like say it's at 5 o'clock that your childcare is done. At 4:55, set a timer, and then just sit there and visualize yourself going to the fridge and cracking a beer and drinking it and releasing all of your stress of the day and then walk upstairs.
Mm,
And he's like, and just do it, but don't do it. Just do it in here. And I mean, it worked like a charm.
that's really amazing.
There,
Um,
there's virtually no difference, because it's the sense memory. If you can make it happen, your body will agree,
yeah, you know what I find does it for me often, not always, but I'm gonna apply your trick you just said to this time. Because for me, it's not cracking open a beer. I don't need to imagine that. But what I found is that since I can mainly walk to work and we went down to one car in our family, and I normally that's not with me, the walking to and from work is like this transitional time. And for me, it's nature. It's like I'm in a screen, I'm in front of a screen, which we'll talk about for sleep in a minute. But it's like I'm doing this, I'm on a phone call, I'm talking to people, I've got fires to put out, I got 20 things. And like my mind is still racing when I finish with work. And then I would hop in a car and have traffic lights and be home in 3 minutes, but be still amped up. And like just that 10-minute walk home, even when it's raining, it's like it's perfect. I actually sometimes prefer it when it's raining because I have a big umbrella and I just walk and I'm like,
and you
I'm
can't
gonna,
take your phone out.
yeah, like I'm not really worried about the phone and I just get to look at everything and and try to, I don't know. For me, what it is I try to look around and I try to trap. My trick of that one, my version of that is I tried to do what I call like the psychedelic mind trick, which is I look around me because I believe that like in my experience of doing things like that, you know, let's you see water falling from a faucet and it looks so magical, right? Like something like that. And the reality is, it always looks magical. I just don't have the ability to see that. And so, what I do is when I walk home, I look around and rather than being like, I've got 3 more blocks till I'm home, I'm looking at like cicadas on the sidewalk and I'm looking at leaves that look interesting and mushrooms that have grown around trees when it rains and whatever. And I just like try to find everything that if I were a kid, I would look at that and make my mom and dad stop so that I could check it out. And I don't stop and check it all out, but I walk by and I think, oh my God, I walked 4 blocks, 4 long city blocks through the city home, and there is like a world of exploration to do. And
That's
that is
cool.
magical. That's what I try. That's how I try to get out of it. Sometimes I forget to do that, to be honest, but that's my trick.
I like that. I like that. I try and I think that a lot of people have that from having a dog. Um, just like the walk, the forced walk.
Yeah.
It's like this. It's like a forced break It's a forced moment to reflect and chill and incubate. I mean, I feel like we don't spend enough time incubating. There's so much focus on do, and actually doing post incubation with lots of attention for short amounts of time is often a way to get to the good stuff.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think there's like two sides to it that I think about. There's the incubation, and then there's you also just need time sometimes for incorporation, integration.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Like
I
just
think
went
that
through the and
incubation can be
they're flip
brainstorming
sides.
or integration. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
But
But
you
like
need these
sometimes I just need
moments.
to like encapsulate what I went through, or like why was I feeling irritated and anxious all day today about something at work, and it's like just takes this time to be like, oh, because of this, which I know is coming up next month, and like that's buried somewhere under that, or I, you know what, I didn't get enough sleep, which is a good segue to that. Often is actually the answer to me, is like, why am I mad, annoyed with my kids rather than finding them funny, or why am I,
Why do I have a headache? Why am I in pain?
it almost always comes back in some deeper way at some point to like, man, I slept like crap 2 days ago, last night, 3 days in a
Usually
row, I
it's two
slept just decently, right?
usually it's 2 days ago is the one you're running on now.
That's what I find too.
Yeah, there's
Like
like a
2 days
1 day
ago,
delay because you ever have the really short where you're like, I only got 3 hours of sleep, but I am crushing it today. And then the next day you're like complete shit.
yeah, no, it's absolutely right. Um, yeah, it's like you can ride the Indy 500 car or the Daytona 5, like you can ride it for these extra laps, but then you got to go back into the repair shop after that.
Yeah, for sure.
You may make it across the finish line, or you may just burn out and then have to tow it home. That's I don't know. I'm not really a race fan, but I often think of myself that way. I'm like,
I'm
oh,
becoming one.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
soccer and racing, you kind of got it all going on back there.
my thing. I'm trying to broaden my horizons.
Here's a throwback name. You remind me of, like, do you remember when we were kids? What was his name? Brian Bosworth. He was
Oh
like
yeah,
he had that haircut. It's like shaved on the
the
side.
Boz
It wasn't really like a tight mohawk. It's kind of big mohawk. He had the sort of tail and back.
was Boz the spokesman for Brute?
He was for one of those things, I think. Yeah.
Or no, no, he was anything less would be uncivilized. Yeah,
Yeah, you got me. I don't
it
know.
was him and Charles Barkley. Anything less would be uncivilized. Right guard.
Oh, okay, good. Nice memory.
Kelly LeBrock was Brute.
Okay. Um,
I don't know where I keep these
you
things down.
good ad memory. I got none of that, dude. Anyway, let's
But
talk
anyway, yeah, can we talk about a couple of the things? I think that like we think a lot of times, I just want to mention this that like we need something powerful or strong or complicated to help us sleep. And so we get these concoctions or we get pills or we get whatever. But let me tell you what works for my kids. And that's where I start because that's the most gentle way. Um, I give them lemon balm extract every night because A, we're living in a viral pandemic and it's a natural antiviral. It also helps calm without knocking you out. It's just a nice calming agent.
Mhm.
Um, and then the other thing that I'm doing is I rub like a little drop of lavender on their temples. Each one of them get that, and then they open their mouths and I spray one spray of Rescue Remedy Sleep. And so that's our little like, oh, you have it there, good.
I asked Greta to grab a bunch of stuff, so I have some of the things we're mentioning
That's
here.
great. So
I love this one. This sort of lets the mind just stop racing. It's not physical. It's just like when you're obsessed, whether it's good obsessed, like sometimes I'm so excited about something and I can't stop thinking about
yeah,
it.
it's like
Sometimes
before a
I'm
ski trip. I take that.
sometimes I'm so nervous about something. Uh, it doesn't really matter, but it's like this just helps that, like, hey, my
Repetitive thoughts.
Yeah, repetitive thoughts.
So if you're feeling like, because a lot of people are like, oh, I get to sleep fine, but then I wake up and I'm caught in a loop, right? Like that's the one you want. That one
Yeah,
has the that white willow bark. Is that what it is? Or white
this has
chestnut?
white chestnut.
White
So
chestnut.
these are not herbal. This is working on flower essences, which are very, very dilute, safe to give to kids, etc. There's a little alcohol in there, so you decide what it. I think they recommend consult with under 12, but like do your own thing, whatever
I've
you
been
think.
giving them to my babies,
It's
and they
very.
have one for pets and kids that is
They
alcohol
have a
free.
glycerin-based one
Yeah.
as well, I think. But anyway, white chestnut, they talk about relief from repetitive thoughts. Rock rose is courage and presence of mind. Clematis for focus when ungrounded. Impatience is patience with problems and people. That for me is a massive one. Um, cherry plum, balanced mind when losing control. Also fairly big because usually it's when I'm impatient with people that I feel like I'm out of control,
I mean,
right?
that's just such a core human issue.
Yeah, and then especially right now, I would say, you know, in more ways than I want to get into right now, Star of Bethlehem to soften the impact of shock.
Yeah, trauma, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And that may
So
be, I'm going to turn this light on. I think that's better. That may be, calling it trauma is not making it worse. I just want to tell people that, like, calling whatever you're going through or whatever is at the root of you not sleeping, it's okay to call that trauma. And traumas are small and large in scale. And that's a
I
taking them
actually
as,
like the word. I like the word shock a lot because I feel like it takes the medical. I know shock has a medical connotation, but like I feel like there's a idea of a shock to the system that can be like that could be like someone claps their hands behind your head when you're not expecting it and you jump, and we all know that feeling. Or it could be like you know literally you're in a car accident and that's like you're going through shock. But it has this feeling where kind of what you're saying. Like it can be big or small, but trauma is
yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. I just, I think people sometimes cringe at that word, or they don't want to think that they are being a crybaby or that it's a big deal or something like that. And I think that there's just call it what it is.
Yeah, well, with PTSD in the mainstream like cultural lexicon, I think that the issue is a lot of times people don't want to. There's this feeling of like you said, like, oh, I totally have PTSD behind that, and then you read about like soldiers coming back with PTSD, and you're like, maybe I shouldn't be so cavalier in throwing that term around about like, you know, my being mad about not getting the ice cream that I want. I'm making that up, but you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Like whatever, which I understand, and that's like legitimate. But I think that you can talk about like the point is, it may not be silly things, and like there might be a point at which we're all being dramatic. Some people are being dramatic when they claim it, but like we're funny people, right? Like that's what we do. But in general, there is the idea of like for you, whatever your situation is that may be causing lack of sleep right now, it could be insecurity about finances, it could be whatever. It's like that's not the same as seeing like bombs go off, but it's still real. It's still keeping you, it's preventing you from having a normal life, right?
Yeah, yeah. I will also say that, mostly from going and hanging with G a lot, like
Our
I
brother, our
almost
middle
every
brother.
night now have a cup of tea
I know,
before
he's so
bed.
good at that.
He does it every single night, and it's just the herbs are important, but it's the ritual. It's truly the ritual that is like he's like defining this as my transitional moment, and that
Yeah,
really helps him go there and go to sleep because he has a really hard time going to sleep. Once he's asleep,
yeah,
he's asleep. So he's a real master of that transitional moment. And a lot of us just read or stay on our phones till the last second and then bang out.
yeah. So let's talk about that, but let's talk about a few other things. So first of all, if you're joining us, thank you for joining us. We're talking about sleep today and kind of life in general as we enter this fall phase, and there's a lot going on for a lot of people. So we've been noticing, we've been having in the apothecary and on the phone and on email, sleep is like trending topic at the apothecary. And Jay brought up a good point, which is tea, the act of drinking a cup of tea, and I would say probably not at bedtime, the plant tea, where I prefer not to do something that's like decaffeinated. I think we would say like, doesn't matter what you drink, but probably stay away from green tea, white tea, black tea for most people, because just like why, even if you're not that sensitive to caffeine, you're probably more sensitive than you realize. So why let the caffeine play in?
Unless you're British, apparently.
If you're British, don't even, just disregard everything about caffeine that we just said, because you can have a cup of,
You can
right,
have
like,
PG tips all night, and then just conk out.
yeah. So, but what I was going to say is that I think you're right. The idea of consciously starting a routine or a ritual that helps your body get into sleep mode is really good, you know? But there are some tricks. So you're right, we're on our phones, but that's why I wore these glasses. Right now I took them off because you can see the reflection of the light I have here to make my face look bright enough. But um, there's two things I want to say about lights. You can get these almost anywhere now for cheap. So like I'm using, these are not prescription, although I have a prescription version of them too. But these ones are Felix Gray glasses. The thing I like about them is they're not really orange or yellowish, although the cheap ones you can get like they look colored, but they block the blue light. So especially later in the day, I would say from 6, 7 o'clock on, if you are going to be watching a movie, I don't do it without watching glasses. I don't watch TV. I don't look at my phone. I try not to without putting these glasses on, and it makes a big difference. And when I forget, or I'm on my phone all night or on a computer and I don't do it, I definitely have a harder time going to sleep.
I would also recommend in general, because it's like if people experience those tension headaches that are behind the eyes and you're on a screen a lot, and let's be honest, everyone almost is on a screen a lot. Um, you know, do it. Just throw them on, you know?
Yeah, but I want to counterbalance that with something that I feel like this is kind of entered mainstream. People understand there's like more and more people are like blue light's bad, blue light, blue light.
Yeah, most phones come with like a
Yeah,
pre-scheduled like 8 p.m. to 8 a.m.
and I have two monitors right now, and they have auto adjust for nighttime, and my computer does it on top of that, right? So like all this stuff is good, but still you should do something. Like they can't stop all those rays. But here's the counterbalance side of it. Blue light is not bad. It's just bad for sleep. And when did you get before we had screens all the time and TVs and light bulbs, when did you get it? When the sun came up and showed full spectrum light because of the sun. And where did you go? You didn't stay inside in the darkness with gas lamps all day. You got outside or did something. And so we actually need blue light. So like this idea, people, I had someone tell me recently, they're like, blue light's really bad. And I'm like, you can't live without blue light. Like you just need it at the right time. Like you want blue light. There's a whole cascades of hormones throughout the day that are triggered by the sun coming up. And part of the light you get from the sun is blue light. So here's the deal. I think another reason, yes, you sleep, people have problems sleeping. All of us have problems sleeping because we keep on looking at screens and getting blue light late into the night.
Which is what, a signifier to your body that the sun is out.
Yeah, but most of us don't start the day by getting actual sunlight. So we rush out the door in our car or wherever into our office and go sit in a not full spectrum light, just looking at some blue light from screens. And we do that all day long. But like I've heard a lot of doctors and people talk about the importance of, researchers talk about the importance of exposing. It's actually like getting it on your skin for 5 minutes a day in the morning triggers all of in eyes, getting your eyes exposed to light. So not putting on sunglasses, but actually going out, not, you don't stare at the sun, but just like letting your eyes adjust to the bright light. That does things to your body that now say it's morning. Start the routine. So by the time you get to night, you're wiped, you know? But most of us don't do that. We're like, oh, let me sit in my dark office, drink coffee, and just stare at one spectrum, one kind of portion of light all day long. And by the time you get going, it's middle of the day, afternoon, and then you're like, I can't sleep. I can't sleep. It's like,
Mm.
start a morning, get some light in the morning. So I find that, like, again, for me, it's while I can and it's not too cold, it's the walk to work in the morning of like getting up and being like, I'm going to go walk outside and like without sunglasses and look around and all the bright lights and the trees and the sun and whatever. But you got to do something like that.
I like it. I like it. That's not where I thought you were gonna go with sleep good, which is basically wake up good.
Sleep well and wake up well.
Yeah, you're saying like, you're saying in order to sleep well, you got to wake up right. Your body, you have to give the messages to your body that the day starts now and start going through all the things in my routine so that I'm actually tired and ready to go to bed when it's time to.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really smart because we always are identifying symptoms, symptoms, symptoms. And
And
rarely do you get to what feels like the kernel of a root issue. And that feels like really, core. That feels like
well,
core.
especially during pandemic, think about how many people
Yeah,
are
people
working
aren't even
from
going
home.
outside. They
You
just go
you just
downstairs.
roll out of your bed, go down, get your coffee, get in front of a computer. You know what? Light through your window is not enough. Most windows block a good percentage of UV light, especially modern windows. Like, you need to get outside, and
I
it
think
doesn't need
that
to be long.
I think that's like, and I think human beings like are smarter than their brains. Like their bodies are smarter than their brains. And so, like why is everyone buying a dog? Did they all of a sudden start liking dogs? No, their body is craving a forced break and a forced get outside.
And you know what? Some
And dogs are awesome.
love and affection and touch. I mean, you know my dog. You take care of my dog. He is impossible not to want to pet when he's near you. In fact, the girls, Rachel and Safi, drive him crazy because they can't not kiss him, and he does it at nighttime. He gets tired and he doesn't like it. He's like, "Argh."
Um, no, but I just, I think that people are, I think we know, I think we know that inside.
Yeah,
And like often we tell ourselves another story because it's easier to just deal with what the moment, you know, and
yeah.
and in the moment you're struggling with the symptom, you know. So I think that's a really good point, and just taking a couple days to break your routine a little bit and start it in the morning and see what that does over 2 3 days. I think you're going to see a big difference.
Yeah, I think if you can, my thing is always like, it's something like if you can do it 4 or 5 days in a row, you're like over the most of the hump. You know what I mean? And if you can do it the remaining, I feel like there's two humps. There's like the making it sort of like, I know I want to do this. That's 4 or 5 days for me at least. And then there's like a couple of weeks, then it's almost like impossible not to do it. And even if you fall off for a day, you're going to get back on.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's you've burned it into your ritual.
Well,
Some
that's
of
a
the
long enough time to experience the benefits and really sense it, and then notice it when it goes away. You know. Anyway, let's talk about some other things because I don't have a ton of time today. This took us longer than I thought, but can I throw some things out there?
please.
If you do want to feel, there's a bunch of ways to get this, but if you do need more of a physical, sometimes people are like, I need something to knock me the F out.
Sometimes you
Like
do.
valerian smells like dirty sweat socks, stinky feet,
How
but it
what?
works. You will be drowsy. You should not drive after you drink valerian. So if you're one of those people who's like, I physically need to knock myself out, try some valerian. We sell it in a tea form, stinky, extract
Get
form, stinky,
I mean, get the tea
capsule.
if you want, but get it over with. Use the
uh,
extract.
Yeah. So we also sell a nerve tea that's like kind of calming, but it has valerian, so it's a good sleep tea. Valerian, chamomile, orange flower, lemon balm, and skullcap. So it's a nice tea. That would be a good option. One of the favorites on the north side of Chicago, thanks largely to my wife, hypnotic sleep aid. It helped my you know, um, insomniac. I was spacing on the word, but insomniac wife gets some sleep after a
That's also
decade.
G's preferred.
Yeah, super gentle, not super drowsy, but does just sort of help you let
Just
go.
enough, right?
Wild,
Passion flower, right?
yeah, but wild lettuce root is, I think, the one that is, or wild lettuce. Yeah, wild lettuce extract is the one that is the primary ingredient and the one that I think is sort of the magic about this one.
Yeah, I think
Made
so
in
too.
Wisconsin. On top of that, local farmers grow their own herbs, formulate it themselves. I really like them. It's good stuff. Another blend, relaxing sleep blend. This one also has, this is also a valerian based blend. So non-valerian, other two that I showed are valerian. Rescue sleep, not any of those. Does not have strong herbal extracts. Flower essence kind of works more on like thought patterns, if that makes sense. Sounds crazy, but it actually works.
No, and actually that's where most people should start.
I agree.
Unless they're just unless they don't feel like there's any thought pattern to it. If it feels much more on the physical side, which is obviously we always talk about how that's a joke anyway. But if it's not about looping thoughts, then try something else. But most people, there's some element of looping thoughts, and
Yeah.
so start with that. You know.
And I'm not a huge fan. I don't have it with me. I'm not a huge fan of taking melatonin all the time if you don't have to. But one thing I would say is if what I talked about getting light in the morning was like, wow, I don't really do that. One good way you can jumpstart that is like go get light in the morning and take a low dose of melatonin an hour before bedtime. And it seems to me like it's a good way to sort of like adjust your clock more quickly to try and say, then like commit to getting up in the morning and getting that light, and I think you'll be able to phase out the melatonin for most people pretty quickly, but you'll be on a path of like, oh, my body's ready to go to sleep earlier. And I wake up and I get some light that tells my body I'm awake and it's the day, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there. You know, we talked about the cup of tea, but I also wanted to mention what what Papa Q says all the time, which is even if you're not the type of person that takes baths, a bath is the like it is a surefire way to knock you out. And
Yeah.
it seems like it's going to take so long and I got to wait, and like when you need it and you're tired and strung like strung out kind
Yeah.
of like jittery, and you're like it seems like a very hard thing to do. It's actually really simple, and it works even if you can put herbs and herbal baths in that help, but you don't even need anything. Hot water drains the blood from your head and makes you want to pass out.
Yeah.
It's just physics, you know?
Yeah, totally. Mary Josephine, thanks for joining us. 10-mile walk. Congrats. That's a great way to get some sleep tonight. That's really awesome. And then Abdul, Clarence, John, what's up? Thanks for joining us. I agree, Jay. You know, one thing I like is just, I mean, we sell bath salts, so I always have something nice, but sometimes I just like, I want minimal, like hot water is great, or just like take a bunch of Epsom salts and just do that too. You just get this like magnesium sort of load in your body that all the muscles start to relax. And that will take away the need for something like, oh, I need something to knock me out. It's like sort of sends these signals to your muscles to just like stop firing so much, like everything, stop firing, you know, and just
Yeah,
like
and if you
chill.
want to go like kind of like for the adrenaline junkie version of it, which is like take a mustard bath. Um you put a packet of that in and you'll sweat and you will barely make it to your bed.
Yeah, we've talked
In
about it
fact, you have to
before.
be careful
Yeah, you need to like brush your teeth before you do that, do all the other stuff, then get in,
and you will drag
open up
your
the
butt.
drain, dry off, and then just fall into bed naked. And let's see if your head hits the pillow and you're still awake. It's done.
It's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Here's another tea I want to mention, just because it's German and I
Gute
really
Nacht.
like it. Gute Nacht tea. So it's cool. Another option. And then, you know, for some people, I do find I'm not a huge fan of this. It actually does help me, but I feel like some people like the CBD. It does have, for many people, a kind of relaxation effect. And if pain is one of your issues, you can often try and you can get like a nice sort of like oh, my pain faded away, and that can help create sleep as well. So it's not something I really like to use, but I know my wife does, other people do. It is helpful for many people.
CBD, it works very differently on different people.
Yeah.
Um, some people are like, "Oh, I feel pain free and I'm sleeping great." Other people, it causes extreme tension in your muscles, and
Hmm.
I can't mess with it anymore. So, but but I will say for the people that CBD doesn't work, maybe THC. Try THC. It works for a lot of people I know, and I'm
Um,
not one of them. So I'm really saying that, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No. A couple other things to nerd out on sleep stuff. All right. What else? I had some other things in mind. Um, how do you find that the pins, the mat of pins?
Love it.
Me too.
Love it. I do it every night.
I do it. I do it. That's the last thing I do before I get in bed for about 5 to 10 minutes. And I feel like I just sink into my mattress so easily. We'll link it up. Jay, maybe you can send over the link. I know we've done it before, but to Greta. But it's like
It's
a
called Pro Source Fit.
Pro Source Fit. We found on Amazon. It's $20. It's literally a bed of plastic needles that feel like needles digging
It's
into your
painful. The
skin.
first couple times you're like, wow, this is painful. And I got to shift every once in a while so it doesn't hurt too much. And then you get used to it and you can go up to 10, 20, 30 minutes on this thing. And oh my gosh,
Well,
it
I
is
know that it works.
fantastic.
I know that it's good for sleep because not only am I usually tired when I get into bed, but sometimes I'm like, there's like a hurt, and I don't mind a lot of pain. So I'm like, it's hurting, but I know pretty soon it'll kind of fade away and feel good. But then sometimes I'm like, I definitely don't want to fall asleep on this thing and wake up like 2 hours later on a bed of like plastic needles. That's not that's not good. I like the sort of what it
And
seems
in
to do
two
is,
hours, but an hour I've done.
yeah, for me, I joke about this. Like I always talk about my envelope is too tight, like my fascia. And I feel like what
Larger
it does for
envelope.
me is it just sort of helps all the fascia release. So it's like, and now I'm just sort of falling into bed. I love that.
One of the other things that I like with that thing is actually after I'm done with that, I then stand on it for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And
I do
it's
it for like a
awesome.
minute or two.
It's awesome on your feet.
I like it
And
too.
I just like sort of shift my weight back and forth. And I have my meditation on my headphones. And I'm such a like,
Yeah. So another thing, I have this Aura ring. I really like it, but here's my goal is not to say you should buy it. It's kind of expensive. However, it is really, really amazing the detail to which it tells me how much types of sleep I've got, REM sleep, deep sleep. And people are like, well, what does that do for you? Here's what I found. I'll give you the learning so you don't have to buy it. Um, Eating anything within an hour or two before bedtime makes it so that I get less deep sleep and less restful sleep throughout the night. Guaranteed. Doesn't matter if I'm hungry or not, whatever. If I eat before bedtime, it always says, something seems off. It took a while for your heart rate to settle down into the low sleep rate that you want. Did you eat something late at night? Did you drink alcohol? I haven't been drinking alcohol. It's always eating, and it literally detects it every time I eat it. It doesn't know. I don't tell it that like, hey, when I ate, I give it no data. It just detects it, and it's almost perfect in detection.
wow, that's
So I
cool.
say that for all of you to say, like, just you don't need the ring, just stop eating a couple hours before bedtime. And I've had to find ways to just like get comfortable with the fact that I'm feel snacky and I don't do it.
So if you like, I know a lot of people recommend, would this still show up on your, have you ever done this? Is take a spoonful of MCT oil at night? Would that affect it negatively? Or would that be okay, you think?
Huh.
Because
Uh,
that's when I'm feeling hungry at night, right before I go to bed, I know I shouldn't. And I know I'll wake up hungrier if I eat something, like snackier, you know?
yeah.
And so I take the MCT oil and I just give myself a big squirt and swallow it, and my craving's dead.
Yeah, it's a good point. You know what I do, that the closest thing, I don't really do a squirt of that, but I usually do a keto cup, which has some dark chocolate in it. So maybe it's counteracting it, but it's basically filled with coconut oil. And that does usually get me through to the idea of like, I do that maybe at like 8 o'clock, 8:30, and then I go to sleep 2 hours later. And it feels like, that does help me get through those cravings. The other thing is like when I feel like I'm gonna be hungry tonight, I load up on macadamia nuts before like 8:30 at night. And then I try to just ride it out if I'm not going to sleep till like
Mm.
10:30, 11 o'clock at night. But like that usually gets me that sated feeling until that point.
Maybe you can try the MCT thing
I
for me.
will. I will. It's a good idea. Um, yeah, those are my tips. The other, I guess, if I would say the other thing that people underestimate, and I know you guys, you joke around that I keep my house really cold, but my sleep is drastically improved by being cold. It's proven, I think, pretty much universally that like the optimal range for sleep is actually pretty damn cold, like way colder than I keep it. Like 65 to 68 degrees is like most people, they'll get the best sleep at that thing, at that temperature. But I just keep a light blanket on at like 72, and I feel like it's kind of cool and it's useful. It keeps me asleep better. So like
Yeah,
cooling down your environment or having less covers or less clothes on for sleeping, definitely good.
cold and clean, cold and
Cool and
clean.
clean.
Um, I would also, I mean, I know this kind of goes counter to what I was saying before, like the hot bath, but for me, I only shower at night really, because with the kids in the morning, it's just easier for me to actually have that time be a meditative, awesome time in the evening.
Yep.
And so I take a warm shower. I can't take it that hot because of my skin issues, but I take a pretty hot, as hot as I can take shower. And then at the end, I crank it on the coldest it goes. And I stand under there for like 30 seconds or a minute. And I, it works. If I do shower in the morning, it works to wake me up. And if I'm showering at night, it works to put me to sleep. I don't know how, but it's true.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I don't shower as much at night, but when I do, I still always do the cold thing. But I turn it on for about 2 minutes of as cold as it goes every day.
Which now is
And
not that cold, but will be in a couple months.
yeah, and mine gets fairly cold, but I like, I just do it and I focus on how do I get my breathing to go as slow and normally as possible. And
Yeah,
that's
because
basically by the time I get there, I don't count the time. I'm just like, once I'm there, I do that for like 5 breaths and then I'm done.
well,
So
because remember in Alaska, can you tell them the story of you and G staying out there for how long? And that night, you guys were barely
yeah, we can
alive.
barely talk. Yeah, we went in an Alaskan river, ice glacial river,
The Kenai River.
the Kenai River. We got there and we went straight from a sauna until we were uncomfortably hot and sweaty. We went straight into a glacial river up to our necks and stayed in there for about 10 minutes. And to the point that our whole heartbeat, everything started to slow down. I got out, G actually stayed in longer than me. We went back into the sauna and I started to feel dizzy. I got out, he stayed in, but
He had
like,
like purple lips and barely
yeah,
made a
yeah,
move
it's
in it.
it's pretty crazy. I'm not saying everyone should do that, but I do think temperature changes, extreme temperature changes, are underrated as a way to keep your health and get yourself sort of I don't know, like
Cold and clean, cold and clean.
fit for life.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, I got to run because I have a call in 5 minutes. I need to eat lunch before I do that. So
Woo!
yeah, whew. And thank goodness I drank the sleepy tea going into my afternoon of
You know
craziness.
what? This when we did hops before and we got like zooted,
Yeah.
this is a really good. I don't know if my blend is the same as Lisa's, but I assume she put a little bit of hops in there. I put I think two little buds of hops in there.
Well, there were some hops in there. I saw them. Yeah.
No,
So
no, in mine I'm saying, yeah.
yeah,
And I think
I
there were
feel
two.
appropriately zooted today rather than like
Yeah,
I'm
it's just
sort of
like a
like
touch and it's
hop
really
stoned.
lovely.
Hop stoned is too much. This actually feels good.
Yeah, this is good.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thanks, Lisa. All right, I gotta bust out. Get some sleep, y'all. Put some glasses on at night. Get some sun in the morning.
Maybe
And
we can maybe we can send a sleep tea to somebody who's watching. Maybe Greta can take a little pouch and send
Sure.
it
I'm out.
because we can try it. All right.
All right. Love you. Let's
Peace out.
peace out. All right. Thanks.